messaging, and not just any authentic messaging, but really radically authentic. Just being you. I know many business owners struggle with it. I used to be one of them. So I'm very pleased to have here with me Aleya. Hi, Aleya, how are you?
I'm good, Yvonne. How are you?
I'm amazing. I'm very excited for today's show, and I want everybody, to already gather their questions, and we will be right back. Okay, so please introduce yourself to the people that are watching you and that don't know you that well yet.
Absolutely. My name is Aleya Harris. I am the founder and CEO of Flourish Marketing, where we help empire builders transform from leaders to legends through radically authentic messaging strategy and copywriting.
I love that. From leaders to legends. Tell me more.
Well, you're already really good at what you do. You've gotten to a certain level of success, and most of my clients are thinking to themselves, well, now what? I've hit a plateau and I can't really seem to break forward. And my clients, the clients of my clients, are having a hard time understanding why they should choose me. I have an established law practice. I have an established doctor, private practice, or therapist or something like that. But how do I just break out from being just another one of the companies that you drive by on down the street to being the premier company that does what I do in my area? And so you're leading, but to be a legend, you have to have a unique story that people gravitate towards, and they can say, oh yeah, so and so is a great lawyer, but they're the specific lawyer that has this specific story that I'm going to tell for them because I'm so moved and compelled by what they offer.
I love that. But there's also a downside, right? Because working with my clients, everybody has this beautiful story. And very often it's the reason why they started their business or why they do it the way they do it. But it's so personal. And if they have to like share that with the world, they go like, oh, let's not. So how do you break through? Because this is what you experience daily.
Yes. So there's a couple of things. One, when I talk about story, immediately everyone goes to their hero origin story, like they're a Marvel superhero, right? And that's actually not the story that I try to tell. The story that I tell is the story that happens at the intersection of your superhero origin story and that of your ideal clients. Because if you just sit there and you just say ad nauseum, your story, your story, your story, after a while, people are like, well, that's great, but what's in it for me? You're sitting here talking about yourself and I'm moved, but okay, but am I moved to purchase, or am I just, moved once and that sounds great? And now I need you to solve my problem, but you haven't really told me how you're going to do that. You've just been talking about yourself. So when I talk about story, it's about crafting your story so that you then are no longer the hero in the story that you tell externally. You are the person who's guiding your clients, who are the heroes of their story, along their journey. And that also helps alleviate some of that fear of vulnerability. You still have to do the work. You still have to dive into yourself and say, I want to be authentic. What does that mean as far as sharing and showing up as my true self? But I'm only needing to share and show up as my true self as much as it story. I mean, like, if you have some deep trauma, like you were molested as a child, or were beaten or something like that, and your business is making lollipops, like we don't need that part of your story. You don't have to feel the need to be exposed, right? It's more about how can you share your story to demonstrate empathy with your clients and authority. Empathy. I understand what you're going through because either I've gone through it or my clients have gone through it and I've helped them. And authority. I have these credentials. Other people say I'm really great, these testimonials. And that's a part of your story that you lean into so that you can solve someone's problem.
Right, I hear you. So it's not all about you,
No,
even though it's all about you, but it's mainly about how you support your clients.
exactly. I always say that when you market, you're marketing to narcissists with short attention spans, right? So it's about me. Is it about me? Can it be about me again? Is it about me yet? Did you make it about me 5 minutes ago? Because I need it to be about me now. So if in that context, you take the pressure off to be talking about yourself. They don't really want to hear about you anyways. They want to hear about you enough so that they know that you're legit and you're not crazy pants, but that you can help them. So tell them that story about how you are uniquely suited for them. So like let's go back to the lollipop story. Let's say that you make lollipops for diabetic children, so they're sugar free, but they don't taste nasty,
Yeah,
right?
good idea.
Why? Why did you choose that? Right? Oh, your child is diabetic. Oh, wow. Well, all of a sudden, then I know you can relate and that you have an authority. This is coming now from a mom. Oh, this is a fellow mom making these lollipops. Oh, I trust this product more now. Right? You can tell your story about the journey of discovering, the best tasting lollipops and how your kid is always sad at birthday parties because they could never, eat the candy because they have diabetes, and you wanted to solve that problem and solve it for moms and diabetic kids everywhere, right? That's a story that not only shows that you can relate to me, but it also is going to sell some lollipops.
I hear you. I was like, where are the lollipops? So I totally understand that. I understand. So, but then why, if I'm listening to you, right, it seems easy enough. And I hate it when someone tells me that's easy. So why is it not so easy? Why are we all choking on being authentic? Because all we have to do is tell a story. Well, apparently there's, it's not all about me. It's about how I guide my clients. But why is it so freaking difficult?
It's difficult because of fear. So when you start a business, there's, whether they are truly high stakes or you just internalize them as being high stakes, it feels like high stakes.
Yes.
And whether it's as much as, oh, I've mortgaged my home to start this business, or just like, I don't want to go to Thanksgiving dinner again and have Uncle Jimmy give me that look because I failed at something again. Like whatever the stakes are for you that feels high stakes. So then you go and you look for the sure thing. So you take the courses, you listen to the podcasts, you go and you look at everybody else's websites that does what you do that have come before you, and you mimic. Because you're like, well, if it's worked for them, it will work for me.
Yep.
To a certain point, that's good, right? Like you need to be like, oh yeah, I should probably take a course so I know how to do business, or I know, like that's good. But once you get the baseline, you need to start moving into uncharted territory. Otherwise, you are unnecessary. We don't need another coach. We really don't. We do not. The world does not need another business coach.
No.
I promise you. We don't need another life coach. We don't need another marketer. The world does not need one. There are people that are doing it and doing it well, have been doing it well for 10 years. So what are you going to do that is slightly different, that helps a different population, that solves a problem differently, that is actually unearthing a new problem to solve, that you can communicate to the world? And the only way to figure out what that is to do the work with figuring out who you are. And that's where the scariness comes in, because now you've gone away from the known world, right? Where you're like, oh, but the course said to do this and the book said to do this, and this is how I set up my website. Cool. But if you want to truly, again, go from leader to legend, what is it? How are you adding on that extra layer to make it different, to solve a problem, to reach a new audience? And to get authentic within you, that's where it starts, because otherwise you'll say, oh yeah, I want to make lollipops for diabetic kids. Well, you have a diabetic kid? Well, no. Well, do you know anybody with diabetes? Well, no. Do you know what diabetes is? Well, I mean, I probably should look that up, but I think it's a great idea. If you do it like that, your heart's not in it. People will be able to see right through it. They will not, your stories are not going to resonate. They're not going to buy from you. But if instead you come from that internal place where it's real for you, people can smell authenticity and they gravitate towards it. People can also smell when you're fake and disingenuous and you repel them and they move far away. So the scary part, the hard part is doing that work to dive into yourself. And I actually have a guide to help you. I know I'm going to leave it towards the end normally, but I came up with a guide because I get this question asked all the time because it seems so easy. Be yourself, write about yourself in relation to your client and ride off into the sunset, right? If it were that easy, you would have done it already.
Yep.
So go to my website, flourishmarketing.co/freebies. There's a freebie called the Recalibration Guide. It's 25-ish pages that has exercises and videos, book recommendations, meditations, mantras, journal prompts to help you figure out how to unearth some of your stuff so that you can remove what's blocking you and then replace it with better stuff.
Right. So we go to the 25 pages. I'm like blown away that this is like something that you give away to your people. But it's basically, I think it paints the picture of how you are, right? Sharing. I can see this is your passion as well. So tell us your story. Why do you do what you do?
So I started out in the cosmetic and fashion industries. I was like, where did I start out? What is my story? In the cosmetic and fashion industries. And I hated it. Like a lot. I was crying every day. I felt lost. I was working really hard because I'm naturally a very hard worker. Well, like, why am I doing this? Well, luckily I didn't have to figure that out for very much longer because I got laid off. Then while I was laid off, I couldn't get a job doing anything. This is before Uber, right? So I couldn't just hop in my car and start driving folks around. I was on unemployment, couldn't get a job doing any admin, nothing. One day my friend was over at my house. She's eating my food because that's what you do. You go over to the unemployed person's house and eat their food. And she goes, you should go to culinary school. And I said, okay, is that because the food is good and could be better? Because it was that bad. I'm going to go with the first option. But I did. I was scrapbooking, which, by the way, if you don't have a job, don't pick up scrapbooking. It's a very expensive hobby. All the little stickers and the little cut things. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's a rich person's hobby. It's like scrapbooking and like polo. Like it's the same category for me. So I then went to culinary school. I was in culinary school for 2 years. And when I was in culinary school, that's when I started first getting an inkling of things. Of like, okay, I really don't like lots of things, but I like connecting with people. And I like helping people be better. But I hadn't even had those words yet at the time. It wasn't until I remember one of the moments I was working. I started a catering company, a private chef company while I was still in school. And I was working in this billionaire's house. And he was old money, European old money, but he had come into the US and he was in his 30s. And he was lonely. Big house. I mean, the house had like a ballroom and multiple wings. Or whatever. You get a house you actually literally could get lost in. I had myself on. I had to call somebody one time. I got lost in it. And it was just him there. And I'm in the kitchen and he comes in and he hands me a bottle of Prego pasta sauce and dried pasta in a bag. And said, can you make this for me? And I thought I was being punked. I'm like, where are the cameras? Am I supposed to say no? Am I supposed to say yeah? What is the right answer here? And I said, well, yeah, I can make you anything you want, but why this? And he goes, when I was younger, my mom didn't know how to cook. But one day, or I guess multiple times, she would have the cook take a day off so she could spend time with me. This is the only thing she knew how to make. Was pasta sauce in the can and he was homesick.
Oh, shame.
And it was the most expensive Prego pasta he's ever eaten in his life. But I did. And it was in that moment I said, it doesn't really matter how good of a cook I am. Yeah, I'm good, don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm doing here. That's not what my job is here. My job is to help people feel loved through food. And that was the first inkling of my purpose that I had. And I did that. I as a chef, I traveled all over the world with my clients. Morocco and London. And the reason why I was there was to make sure that they could tap into the squishy parts. And I was the person that could help them do it. Fast forward, I ended up working at Google, and I was doing that, but on a grander scale through behavioral science, behavioral economics, and the future through food. And then I got to this job I got laid off again when I was at Google, and I was the head of marketing for North America for a big company. I hated that, got laid off, and I decided to start this company. And I realized, I said, I'm a really good marketer. At this point in time, when I started my company, I've been doing it for over a decade. And I was like, do I want to market? I said, not really. I don't really want to market. I want to help people feel good about themselves and their business. And I want to help people feel like their authentic self is who the world really needs and wants to see. And so that's why I do what I do. I use marketing as an excuse, just like food was an excuse to be able to serve in that way. That's my authentic story. And that's what comes out in my messaging, because I discovered that. And that's what we help other people do. We help people discover what's behind the excuse for what they are doing in their everyday life.
I like that. So tell me how you help your clients over that bump when they are feeling self-conscious and they know they have to do it, but something is holding them back. How do you share with us, how can we go past that bump?
It usually depends on what the bump is. Mm-hmm. So our marketing company is unique because of our flourishing empire framework. We combine energy alignment and business strategy. So before we ever sit and we write your marketing funnel, we have a conversation, and I use bioenergetics to really assess, where is your energy off? What is blocking you? And it's usually not anything that they thought that they were going to talk about that day. I had a client go, well, it's totally this issue I have with my mom, but can we talk? Is that allowed? Is that allowed for us to talk about it? I looked around, I said, I don't know who's going to stop us. It's about, for her, it was forgiveness work. And so we went through forgiveness exercises around forgiving herself for judging herself, forgiving her mother. For other people, it could be around self-worth. For me, a lot of my pricing issues were around my self-worth wrapped up in the story I had running about my relationship with my father. So didn't matter. I was a marketer for a decade. I had managed multi-million-dollar budgets, but when someone came to pay me, I'm like, that'll be $500, right? Because I wasn't worth that.
Yeah.
So it's about overcoming that, and usually for that, it's great to use visualization. It's good to get into your body, and maybe it's like I give homework. There might be some movement work that happens. There's journaling that happens. I will make custom guided meditations for clients that specifically hone in on what their thing is that they're needing to overcome. Then we crack that code, and as we crack that code, then they start to open up channels of creativity. I had a client, as we were working together, she hadn't been able to create new content. She hadn't been able to show up for herself online, in person at all. Once we got a little crack going, she was like a content machine. She produced like 6 months of content in a week, because she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so old. Oh my gosh. That's the results that we're able to get, because people like to compartmentalize, right? They like to be like, this is just about my business. Nah, girl, nothing's ever just about your business. It's about everything. Everything affects everything else. So when we're able to move the stuff that's holding you back, then we're able to fill it with what you want to do to intentionally craft your journey forward.
I love that. I love it. And I love that you do, energy work and bioenergetics to really get to the bottom and to the almost the undercurrent. That's what I always say with my clients, there's practical, strategic, but there's basically elevation of you, and that really starts literally at the bottom before we can move up. So
Exactly.
what you do. So, the final question, is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you want to tell your people, that are watching? What haven't we, what else do you want to share?
I think that there's the question a lot of people have about, why do I need to do it this way? Why do I need to be radically authentic? The old school marketers and advertisers have been working just fine for them. Why would I try not something new now? We've gone through a collective social reckoning. Through the pandemic, people began to realize and question what they wanted and question what they were getting. Question what their life was, question the way they interacted with the world, question the way other people interacted with the world. And they got more into themselves. They were spending more time with themselves, more time with their families. And people are now rejecting the things that seem false and fake and old, because they're out of alignment with how they discovered they want to live their lives. So you could sit here and listen to Yvonne and I and be like, oh, that's cute for someone else. I mean, I don't need to do that. That's for them over there, those woo-woo people. I was looking at doing some research online, and forgive me that I do not remember the exact source, but it was 80% of consumers intentionally seek out brands that seem more authentic. 80%. So if you're sitting there listening to us saying, oh my gosh, this is like more yoga, crunchy granola than I want to be, what you need to be asking yourself is, how much money do you want to make? Because if you are so afraid of showing up in a way that lets people see the passion that you have, see the integrity that you have, see who you truly are, then what you're really saying is, I'm scared to own a business. We are in a different time now. Things have changed. You can't keep doing what you were doing. What got you here will not get you there to your goal.
Yeah.
So I want you to ask yourself, how is not being radically authentic holding me back? If you can even have an inkling of like, well, I don't want to say it out loud, but I probably could get that other client that I wanted if I just was a little bit more open. That's just the tip of the iceberg. This is the direction that we're moving in. So how can you get on board now when it's a little bit more in the beginning of the wave, middle of the wave, rather than when you're on an island on your own and it's so much harder to tap into yourself because you feel even further away, even less skilled at developing that relationship with yourself and others. So that's what I would leave you with, a little bit of hopefully some motivation to begin doing the work.
I love this. So final question I always ask everyone: how are you the CEO of your life?
I haven't been a great CEO. I've been a CEO in crisis because I just had a baby. She's 4 months old. So being the CEO of my life, truthfully, I think she's more the CEO, the CEO of my life right now. But I've been a better CEO of my life the more grace I give myself, and the more I realize that there's grace that abounds, more than I've ever had to tap into or request before. I'm a person who shows up. I show up early and with more than what you needed before, not the person who had to reschedule because, my kid is doing whatever she's doing. And seeing the amount of grace that I give myself and receive from others also allows me to show my daughter that there's grace all around. And so coming at the world a little bit differently has been, I feel like I'm on my own personal executive retreat where I'm learning different and new leadership skills that are more in that feminine energy flow than in that masculine do, which is totally a blessing. I'm loving that.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here today with us. And if you've watched it, thank you. If you have any comments or any questions, let us know. We'll happily answer them. And I look forward to seeing you here again next time, same channel. And bye.